Without further ado, I will hand over to you, gentlemen, on Arceus. I'm going to go refill my drink while this happens, because I have literally nothing to contribute to this conversation. Because I will set up your discussion with this. I have been seeing reviews and seeing takes on this game since the day it came out, and I have no fucking idea if it's any good. So, without further ado, I'll hand over to, I guess, Mark, would you like to moderate this discussion?
Well, what I will just do is let's get the big thing out of the way straight away, and let's just get the graphics discussion done and dusted, and then we can get onto everything else, because it is the one big point of contention. And, you know, I've seen every take under the sun about the graphics. I simply just sit on there. Yeah, it probably could have been a bit better, but, you know, my enjoyment of this game is not lost on the fact that sometimes the rocks are a little bit too reflective, and I don't know why the fuck they are, but they are. I'm sure they'll get patched out. Whatever. Yes, sometimes the birds are flying with three frames of animation.
Only when they're in the distance, to be fair.
Yeah. You know, it has some issues that they could have spent more time on that. I don't really care for the most part.
No, I don't give a shit either. Like, when have Pokemon ever tried to wow you with visuals at any stage?
Let it be noted, this is Game Freak's third HD game that they've ever made in the history of the studio. There's Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, there's Sword and Shield, and there's this. So this is this studio's third game in high definition. They have no experience making HD games.
And the three of them are all Sonic leaps up from the previous one as well, I would say.
They're getting there, and they'll get there over time.
You know, like, in fairness, a lot of the kind of mountainous regions sometimes just look like the one texture that's been stretched out really far.
It looks bad in a weird way, doesn't it? It's not like it's not a performance issue. It does feel like it's just a texture design issue.
Yeah, it's all purely like artistic in terms of the issues, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, they just look like they just cheaped out on a lot.
They spent all the money on the Bidoof models and didn't spend anything on the environment.
Yeah. But you can tell they spent most of the time kind of crafting how the game would work and everything would be in the wild and all of the new concepts and features. And then one day they were like, oh yeah, we should probably do some textures.
And I think it's worth saying, this game can look really good. Like,
yeah,
I think the skyboxes in this game are absolutely gorgeous. And it's weird because I saw the trailers and I'm like, I'm not sure about these skies. They look a little weird. And then seeing them in the actual game, it's like, oh, these are so nice to look at. It actually makes up for the fact that the game is occasionally hideous to look at.
I do think that a lot of this just comes down to the fact that everyone was making... Oh, sorry about that. I do think a lot of this just comes down to the fact that so many people are saying, oh, it's a bit like Breath of the Wild. And obviously this game does not look like Breath of the Wild, but also I don't think this game really actually is like Breath of the Wild at all, other than the fact just it's a bit open world and you can kind of climb up some rocks sometimes. I think the Breath of the Wild comparisons are a little bit overblown, and yeah, obviously this game looks nowhere near to the level that Breath of the Wild does, and very few games do, and there's a specific art direction that game has. But at the same time, Breath of the Wild is not a perfect game and actually has some severe performance issues at times whenever you run across a blade of grass. So, you know, it's... I just... Yeah, there could have been specific art choices they made. They could have brought in people that could do this kind of thing. As you guys mentioned, it is their third HD game. I'm sure, again, a lot of this will get patched out. And, you know, if they make an Arceus 2, a lot of this will get improved upon. My biggest thing is I just think that some of the rocks just look really weird, and I don't know why they look as reflective and as purple as they do.
It's very strange. I kind of love how weird it is. And like I bumped on it less as I got further into the game. Maybe it's less prevalent in the later areas, or maybe I just got used to it. I don't know. But yeah, there's no getting around the fact that there will be times where you look at this game and like, my God, what's even happening? But also there is times where you look at this game and it's like, God, this is kind of stunning.
Yeah, I think like the vistas, particularly like the sort of dusky time of night, like just before it gets super dark.
I find the other side as well, just at dawn as well.
Yeah, you can sort of stand on a cliff or whatever and like look out into the wilderness, and there might be like a Gyarados flying through the air or something like that, and it looks incredible in those moments. Occasionally it peeks through, and I guess it's more frustrating in the sense that were it given to a studio who had design experience making games that looked like this, they could have made this that much better. So there's sort of the direction of the game I really like, and the way that they've made it look and the way they present everything. It's just the assets that are the bad parts. And I guess maybe could they have invested more money in it? Possibly, but it doesn't matter. And I got used to the purple rocks. I kind of feel like they have a sort of ethereal, magical quality to them, which kind of sums up the fact that even in what is like a bygone age, you are still throwing balls that trap Pokemon magically inside and then shoot fireworks out of the top.
I love the fact that they're just like, we've discovered that we can shrink Pokemon down into these balls, and there's like, we're not going to explain it any further than that.
Yeah, why would you? Who gives a shit about the science? The fact that you started the game as well, and for the first sort of 5 to 10 minutes, I was like, wait a minute, have I travelled through time? And then they don't really explain that too well in the rest of the game. Like, I think, Garrett, you said I think on Twitter, you said you were getting close to finishing it. I'm nowhere near finishing it because I'm just dicking about, to be honest. I've probably spent like
how unlike you in a Pokemon game, Jack.
Yeah, just 20 or so hours, and I've done like one of the major sort of boss battle style things. Mark, have you done one of these?
I did Cleaver last night. I'm about 4 to 5 hours in, and yeah, I did Cleaver last night.
What do you guys think of the boss battle mechanic? Because I really enjoy it.
As someone who's finished the game and done some of the post-game content, I am legitimately surprised at how complex they are. Not in the sense that they're like Dark Souls level bosses, even though that's kind of like the immediate analogous thing you'll think about. Like, they're not.
Everything is now a Dark Souls game or a fucking Breath of the Wild game.
And this is just Dark Souls Breath of the Wild. But
yeah,
like they're not. You would think like Pokemon doing like 3D boss battles where it's like you have iframes dodging Pokemon attacks in like combos and sequences. You would think they would make it as simple and straightforward as they can, because like, it's Pokemon. This game is aimed at 10-year-olds at the end of the day. And like, some of the later ones are like legitimately complex. You will die a few times to these bosses, and I was so surprised that they are actual real boss fights and not just like, you dodge and then you hit them.
Yeah, exactly. I think the ones I've done have been relatively easy to dodge so far, but I'm told like when you eventually, I think it's probably not a spoiler alert to consider that at some point you're probably going to face down with Arceus or Arceus, right? I'm told that is one of the most bastard hard things that anyone's done in video games in the last year or two, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. I don't know if, Garrett, have you approached a point where you've encountered Arceus?
No, I've done pretty much everything up until him. My quest now is go to do the things you need to do to get Arceus, which, by the way, there's a trainer battle and a subsequent boss fight after that. Kind of a boss. It's not that kind of boss fight. It's a alpha Pokemon kind of thing. That at the end of the game and the post game, that is the hardest Pokemon trainer I think I fought since like Cynthia, and I was a child when I fought Cynthia, and so like that wasn't even that hard really. It was just me being a child. Like I lost to this dude like 6 times before I beat him. That doesn't happen to me in Pokemon games. Pokemon games are never that hard.
No, they're just like run throughs because you tend to over level. I've been finding it hard to over level in this game though. Does the environment adapt to the level you are with the Pokemon that it puts out there in some of it, or is there like some sort of like graded leveling? I'm not sure. Because
like the strength of the wild Pokemon and the alpha Pokemon in particular like varies wildly. Like you could have a 20 level advantage, it would slap you with like a quick attack and take away like 50 health. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. And the strong and agile style thing is an interesting balance as well, because sometimes you think, right, well, I'm just going to pummel this. That you would put your energy into a strong style when you've got the type advantage, and you've got that stab element. Whereas if you don't have that, you almost want to make sure that you're kind of taking a little bit of your edge off your attacks with the agile style, so you can get more in and potentially create a gap to throw a Pokeball if it's a Pokemon you're trying to like catch or collect. I love the alpha Pokemon. I think that is a really cool feature.
And they're always tough. Like even right the way through to the end game, like an alpha Pokemon can just kick your ass.
Yeah, I tried trifling with that alpha Snorlax early in the game, and
I saw him and I just turned around and went, nope.
It hit me with a superpower like two, 3 times, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna run away here. And because it's a Snorlax, I managed to get away kind of scot-free anyway.
I saw there was a tweet I saw that like the best thing that Game Freak have done with Pokemon in the last 10 years is just make the Pokemon big.
Yeah.
There's no Wailord in this game, though, I don't think, which is quite disappointing.
That's my next question.
Well,
I was going to be like, Garrett, have you encountered a Wailord? Because I need to see
Because there's
that.
a Wailord in the
The
Sword and
main-
Shield DLC, and it's like, oh, look at it, it's so big!
Yeah, I know, right?
The main contributory factor to the final Jack Lizelle review score is a scale of Wailord.
But like, I think actually, I was going to ask the question, or we should kind of actually try and explain what the fuck this actual game is. But the other thing I just wanted to kind of bring up as well is
Yeah,
that
I still really have no
Which
idea.
is kind of,
What I
honestly,
really-
it's kind of the magic. I
Yeah.
think everybody had no idea what really this game was.
But what I really like about this game more than anything else is just that they really treat it as like, hey, these are just Pokemon that are actually out in the wild, and they will fuck you up. You know, because you've never really had that before. It's always just been like, hey, if you encounter a Pokemon, it's your Pokemon against that Pokemon. But now
I
it's...
do enjoy the multiple screenshots I've seen from the game of characters going, yeah, you're gonna fucking die out there, mate.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well. It's so many times it's like, yeah, well, like, so if you don't do this task, then we're just going to leave you out in the wild and you will probably die.
And it's not even task, it's the tutorial mission. It's like, if you fail this tutorial mission, we're sending you to your death.
Yeah, they're really suspicious of you at first. They're like, yeah, you can't sleep. We're not giving you accommodation in this town, child, who's just fallen out of the sky.
So,
But,
yeah, what is this game then? Because it's not Breath of the Wild, all right? I'm just putting that out there right away.
It's hard to make a direct comparison, because the other thing people were saying is like, oh, it's Monster Hunter, because it's not open world, it's 5 segmented areas, it's large sandboxes rather than open worlds, and it's not really Monster Hunter either, other than that comparison of like you accept missions and then go out and complete the missions, which is most video games these days. So it's not like Monster Hunter isn't the great comparison. It's its own thing. It's like it's a combination of things that becomes its own thing. And honestly, like the thing that comes to my mind, it's like Pokemon Go. Except
I was going to say that it is very similar to Pokemon Go in that you almost rewarded for catching multiple types of the same species, so you can kind of bump out those Pokedex objectives and get to the level 10, so you kind of have your Pokemon registered in the Pokedex. The collection, the gotta catch 'em all collection element of the game is more prevalent than I think it is in any other game. I don't think this one's about training your Pokemon and raising them to fight as much as it is about making sure that you're filling out the pages and sort of developing your Pokedex to try and rank your level up and stuff. I think I'm up to like 4 or 5 stars at this point. And again, I've only reached like the second area, I think, so I've been doing a lot of grinding on it, and I'm really enjoying getting the little sections of Pokedex filled out to get to my level 10s. I don't know, Garrett, has that become tiresome for you, or are you still in that element, or is that something you've not really been paying as much attention to?
I really like the game because of this, but I haven't been paying much attention to it. Like there's a thing where you can lock onto a Pokemon and then check its like Pokedex tasks you have to do to get it up to the researcher level you want. And like I just never did that. Like I just caught the Pokemon in certain circumstances. I battled the Pokemon, and I filled out the Pokedex for a lot of Pokemon just that way, without like actively trying, without actively being like, all right, this is what I have to do for this one, and this is what I have to do for that one. I just kind of like
just having them in your team as well.
Yeah,
will do that
to be
as
honest,
well.
like with most Pokemon, it's like as long as you catch a bunch of them and kill a bunch of them, that will probably get you up to or close to where you need to be to complete it. And I do appreciate the fact that they give you, you know, like 7 or 8 different objectives that you need to do, but it doesn't require you to fill out all of them. Because if it had done that, I would have probably been like, there is no fucking way that I'm ever going to fill this dex out. So I do appreciate that they say you only actually need to fill out a couple of these to get where you need to have this as a completed entry.
And you can.
It's a good job Nintendo doesn't have their own version of like trophies. So, kind of similar to what PlayStation and Xbox have, because there would absolutely be one that would be like, make sure
fill
you
out the
level
Pokedex.
Yeah, level 10 every Pokemon's page, or even worse, complete every single
That would be the platinum
objective.
Yeah.
And I like that it lets you like just grind one of them. You know, it's like if you just want to catch them, you can catch one, and then it's like, well now catch 3, and you catch 3, and it's like, well now catch 6. And like if you want to play the game that way, if you just want to get the objectives by just running around catching Paris a ton, it's like you can do it.
Yeah, but it's smart in the sense that, because you know the Pokemon Go comparison is probably the best example to make, because if they didn't have this and it was like, you know, like if you play a mainline Pokemon game, for the most part, you catch, you know, a Clink, and you're only going to catch that one, and that's it, and you're never going to think about it again. But with this, you know, there is that incentive to keep catching them in the way that you would with a Pokemon Go, and that adds like so much more replay value within that, you know, just that cycle of playing the game. You know, within the first 4 or 5 hours, kind of like similar to Jack, I've just been in that one area, just going over the same routes and catching a lot of the same Pokemon, just, you know, for the purpose of filling out the decks. But it is kind of grindy, but I guess in the small comparison that I'd make to a Breath of the Wild, where, you know, you can't stumble across something that you didn't before, and then you're like, oh right, now I've got like this giant Parasect that I've just stumbled across that's now absolutely wrecking me, and now I need to get the hell out of here. And you know, like within that first area, every time I go back to it, I'll find like a new part that I didn't know before. I will say the one thing that is a bit of a pain, and I asked this but no one responded, alas, is like, I wish the game would, unless it does this later on, would kind of give you a clearer indication that, like, hey, you've been here, you've caught this kind of Pokemon, this is where you can find it, instead of just you having to remember, like, because like I think one of the Pokemon I wanted to fill out the decks for, but I couldn't remember specifically where I'd seen it before, and I had to run around. And it would be nice if like it would just in some way let me know, either in a description or in the map or something, just to say, hey, go here to find that.
I think it does in the Pokedex. I mean, I don't want to be 100% on that because I'm not sure, but I think it does tell you. Because again, because I've only been in 2 areas so far, I kind of have a pretty good idea of where to get everything that I've had so far. It tends to have stuck in my head, but I think it's in the Pokedex. It will tell you kind of where you caught it or what habitat it's most likely to be.
You gotta start using your map markers, Mark.
Yeah.
That as well. I guess I could also use that as well. I just use it to pin wherever the quest that, like, hey, go find me a Geodude. Cool, sure, whatever. All right.
Yeah, there's a couple of those quests, the side quests, that are really difficult as well, early game. There's one where I think you have to fill out the Pokemon page, Pokedex page for Cherrim, and I've yet to find a Cherubi.
I finished the game and I don't think I found a Cherubi.
The one that annoys me the most is like, hey, craft me this Pokédoll that requires 3 pieces of wood, and somehow in an entire forest I could not find 3 fucking pieces of wood.
Is that a metaphor for life?
Potentially.
Just walking through a forest, can't find the wood. Yeah, I haven't got those pieces of wood yet, but I'm kind of like, I'm less annoyed about that one because collecting wood I could care less, but I do want to find a Cherubi because they're usually in trees, but every tree I have has a Burmy in it. I get sick of seeing Burmies at this point. I see a shaking tree, I'm like, oh, maybe there's a Cherubi in that. Nope. Every time it's
sometimes
just a Burmy,
might be a Wormadon.
Oh, there is that, yeah, but I don't know, it's just like a fucking prick Burmy, isn't it,
like,
really?
I suppose this is like for Garrett specifically, but how big has the Pokedex got for you? Like how many Pokemon have you seen so far? Because I have no idea like how many Pokemon are actually in this game. I've never looked at it to see.
I'm on, I think it's like 180. I think there's like 260 in the game.
Okay.
Which I will say, I think some of the areas could have done with a few more Pokemon. I mentioned Paris. Like, there's too many Paris in this game. I see Paris in way too many areas. But a very important thing to say, I think catching Pokemon, like the act of catching Pokemon in this game is really fun. Like,
yeah.
the rolling around, the stealth mechanics, the different kinds of Pokeballs, where you have, like, obviously the Pokeballs, Great Balls, Ultra Balls, but then you have, like, Heavy Balls and different variations of that, or if you get closer and you throw that Pokeball without the Pokemon seeing you, you have a higher catch rate. There's also I think they're called Feather Balls and Wing Balls, which you can just chuck from an enormous distance and they fly across the map. It's great fun. So
the Feather Ball is
you can
sick.
just hurl it. Like, there was
good.
a late game kind of legendary fight where it's kind of part catching, part the crazy Pokemon thing, the Dark Souls boss battle. And the thing is, you're meant to get close, but it keeps on trying to dodge you. So I just stood back and hucked a bunch of Feather Balls at it until it stayed in the Pokeball.
Yeah, I just love the stealth element, because you kind of get to an area where there's loads of Pokemon, and I always kind of see it as like, you know, if you're playing like a Far Cry or any of those Ubi games where there's loads of bases for you to clear out, you know, I would clear out an entire area of Pokemon and try and not be seen in the same way that I would try and clear out a base in Far Cry without anybody seeing me and raising the alarm. Because sometimes when you get seen, like there's an early game area where there's loads of like Drifblim and Drifloom, and if one of them catches you, you tend to get a situation where there's like 4 or 5 of them swarming on you.
And the way this game works is if you get caught in a fight with them, you're fighting 4 of them. You're not fighting one of them.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like that it does that. Yeah. Okay, for me, like, I don't know if it's just me, but my brain is absolutely convinced that the crouch and the dash button are the other way around. And I've had so many times where I've wanted to crouch into the grass and just dived headfirst into a Geodude.
I have that problem with map and menu. I keep hitting the map button to open the menu, and the menu, or
I have also done that as well. Yeah.
I just wish everything was on one menu. You could select your Pokemon or your items, like, because everything's kind of separated out. Like you've got your task menu, a map menu, your bag and stuff. I just wish that was all under the same.
By the way, another thing I hated about Diamond is that stupid like R button menu, just like.
I think that had more charm to it when you was actually playing it on a
when it was on a lower screen and it wasn't just on the screen annoying you.
Yeah. I honestly, like, not to go off on a massive tangent here, but I think the Gen 4 is where, like, they were like, hey, we've kind of run out of ideas for how to make this kind of core. We've done everything we can do with this core gameplay. Let's start padding stuff out. And, yeah, it didn't work. But that's a conversation for another day.
I like Gen 4. I just want to throw that out there. There's been a lot of Gen 4 slander here. I enjoy Gen 4.
Actually, no, second worst.
Yeah, but...
To be fair.
But
hang on a second. If you want to talk about the legendaries, Palkia and Dialga are fucking awesome, and so is Giratina. They are amazing legendary Pokemon. They are super strong in the game and super strong in Pokemon Go as well. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure, Jack, though, you could find out that it was a Pokemon game that stole your phone that time, and also it was a Pokemon game that was the miserable customer service you got replacing said phone, and still give it a good review.
Yeah, 4 stars.
Yeah.
No,
I remember even saying to Mark when I met him for food last weekend, I was like, level with me, is this Pokemon game any good? Because like the Jack review is going to add 1.5 stars that I probably wouldn't myself.
Dave Meltzer reviews ladder matches. Yeah.
Yeah, that is me. But this one's a difficult or different one to review.
Oh, he'd give it 5 stars if it was in Kanto.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I'd love that. I think I'm just. How do they keep down this path now? Is this a blueprint for what they carry on doing in the future if they change it? Because if they made another game like this and they refine some of the things that maybe are a little bit clunky and they make it look a little bit better and feel just a little bit better.
Can I say I'm kind of over the chibi art style as well? Like in the Diamond.
There's none of it in this one, Dave. You're fine. There's no chibi in Pokemon Legends.
This is more the modern looking character designs.
It is the interesting questions. Like, where do they go next after this? Because I don't see this as like where the path they'll continue down. I see this as like this weird kind of sidestep that they decided to take because they were flush with cash with Pokemon Go, that they could take the risk of doing this. And by the looks of it, this risk has paid off for them.
6.5 million copies in the first week.
Definitely an incentive to keep making these games. But it is like, I don't even think it's so much to do with like how successful this game was. It's more to do with like, what the fuck do you even do with that mainline series at this point? You know, you're up to 1,000 Pokemon now. Everyone was losing their minds about the fact that you couldn't catch them all in the last one. You know, I don't know what the hell a new mainline Pokemon game looks like. I think this was the smartest thing that they could do to make another Pokemon game, an original Pokemon game that completely reinvents the formula. I don't think this is how it will be going forward. I do think this will be like a side series of games. But so far, for me at least, I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad that they've done it, even with the the minor issues with graphics, and sometimes the areas are a little bit too barren. Sometimes it would be nice to have just areas a little bit more. I wish some of the areas, and this is early on, so I can't speak for later on, but it does really feel like, okay, this part of this land is designated for this specific Pokemon. This part of this land is designated for this specific Pokemon. Sometimes I wish there was a little bit more kind of like cross correlation between them.
I think they do that as a design choice, though, because I think it would be more frustrating if you had to go from like a Paris here to a Paris 2 miles down the road if you're just trying to fill out the Paris section of the Pokedex. So
yeah, which is what like playing Pokemon Go is like if you're in the countryside.
yeah, so
basically.
I think that they made that decision to be like, all right, this is the Paris area, so if you want to do Paris, you can just come over here and catch all the Paris.
I think you can still do it in a way where you have, you know, like a random Pokemon will show up within a bunch of other Pokemon. You know, not like it still has its kind of designated area.
That does happen.
It does happen. Okay, it hasn't.
Yeah,
happened
you
to
get
me
like
yet,
these.
but-
You get like these raid scenarios, Garrett, where like you see a Pokemon icon on the map will turn up somewhere, and you go there, and there's like wave after wave of that Pokemon. And I've not got a shiny yet, but apparently that is the best way to shiny hunt, where you have these. Are they called swarms in the game? I think?
Yeah, it's swarms, and then
like
they
that.
have the they also have a zone where a bunch of Pokemon show up, the time-space distortion areas where
Oh, I have not had a
a bunch
distortion
of Pokemon.
yet.
I have 3 shinies, by the way. There is one scripted shiny in the game. I won't spoil that for people.
Yeah, I
and
got
the-
that. I've only got the scripted
And then
one.
I have a shiny Psyduck and a shiny Goomy as well, which I found.
Oh, by the way, how good is the shiny Psyduck? The light blue color is really satisfying on the Psyduck.
It does make the
I
gold
find.
look pretty
Not too-
boring, though.
God, maybe Dave's right. If I'm marking out over a blue Psyduck, then maybe there is something wrong with it.
I'm not to cut the love in short, but we are at 2 hours without having talked about the news.
Can I do
yet.
like a list
Alright,
of things
fine.
I like about Pokemon that they've changed really quickly?
Go on,
Okay,
hit it.
the fact that you can choose on your Pokemon to evolve now, great touch. Like, it just gets to the level
Yeah,
and you can just be
yeah.
evolve it or not. Great.
It's so weird that is in there, but it makes so much sense to have
The
it.
fact that your Pokemon just learn moves and then you can just choose them. You don't need to have like go to a move tutor and give them an item and then all that shite. That's gone. The fact that you can switch your lead Pokemon with the touch of a button on the map is just so nice. You don't have to go into a menu. You can just be like, I want my Typhlosion in front. Yay. What else do I love about it? I like the fact that the battling system. I like the new additions to that. The traversal in this game is better than 95% of open world games, especially when you get to the end and you have all of the ride Pokemon, which I think they've shown them all in trailers anyway. So you have the land Pokemon, you have the water Pokemon, you have the flying Pokemon. And what's really cool is like if you're riding the Weirdeer and you jump off a cliff, you can just press a button to switch to the flying Pokemon immediately. And if you jump into water on the Weirdeer, it just switches to the Basculin equivalent. It's like it's so seamless. I'm shocked that Game Freak of all people made an open world game where like traversal is better than most open world games. It's so good. And just to go back to the point about where they go from here, like the most exciting thing for me, I love this. I think this game is like sneakily one of the best Pokemon games. It's so much fun. But my thought after this is like, I can't wait for the next one of these, where like they do iron out some of the issues and they do build on the foundation that is this game. I think it's really neat. I think they've made so many like small evolving Pokemon that used to evolve via trade, you can just use an item now. If you want to evolve a Haunter into a Gengar, you can trade it. It still works that way. But also, there's just an item that evolves a Haunter into a Gengar. They've removed so many of those like layers of friction that have just built up as like conventions of the series. And like you do have to forget some of what you've learned about Pokemon when you're battling, because like the way sleep works in this game is not how sleep used to work.
Yeah, I'm still not adjusted to that.
And it's
yet.
weird because like one of the Pokemon I was battling fell asleep and I'm like, oh, I'm fine now. And then it attacked me. And I was like, what the hell? That's not how Pokemon games work.
Damn you, Pokemon! This isn't how Pokemon works. I like the fact that it's just one game
isn't
as
it
well.
great?
Yeah, like I don't have to go and buy the Power Diamond. I can just buy Legends of Arceus, and that's what they've needed to do for a long time. They just need to make it okay. Yep, Legends of Arceus.
You can just
here
catch
it is.
all the Pokemon
Good.
that are in the game you bought.
That's the thing. You can 100% the Pokédex of Legends of Arceus by just owning Legends of Arceus. That is brilliant. Never been done before in a Pokemon game. Even go back to Red and Blue, you can do that. And I think that is, it gives you that sense of achievement, of something that you don't have to wait for your mate or spend 30 or 40 quid just to, trade a fucking Nidorino over for your Nidorina. It just seems like a waste of time.
One very last thing before Dave desperately wants to move us on.
I mean, if Dave had played it, we'd be doing 3 hours on this, but he's just furious because he doesn't get to say anything.
Unless I was having another brilliant diamond moment, I was like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah, Dave's like, yeah, what you should have done is portioned out all your horrible takes on Brilliant Diamond Shine, and just every now and then just going, you know what fucking sucks? The R button map. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to Legends of
Music.
Arceus.
Music in this game is so good.
Oh my god, damn it, that was going to be my final point. Yeah, the music is incredible. It really is. Like, there are moments where I've got to a point where the music is so good that I've just stopped and listened to it because it is that good. Like, the Jubilife music, the village that you're in, I could just listen to that all day. It's so ridiculously soothing. Gary, you posted the music in like the nighttime, which is just it's so beautiful, like with the little synth hits and effects in the background, like a nice little bobbling kind of sound. When it needs to be grandiose and big, like in those boss battles, it is. But when it's just stripped back and you're in the environment, it just does such a good job of atmospherically giving you an underpinning and setting a tone and feel for the area that you're in. It's the best music in a Pokemon game ever, I would say. I don't think there's ever been better music in a Pokemon game than this. Admittedly, lots of them were on like Game Boy and stuff, so there was limited in what they could put out. But I don't think it's ever been.
And I really appreciate how like they incorporate the themes of Diamond and Pearl, the music from those games, into the game. So like, there's all the place names other than Jubilife Village are different than what they were in the game that we know. But when you're in the equivalent of like Eterna Forest from Diamond and Pearl, they just sprinkle in the Eterna Forest theme, a little remix of it. And it's lovely to be like, you have that little like musical muscle memory of it's like, oh, now I know where I am in this like Sinnoh world, equivalent to where I used to be in like the old one.
Dave's just getting mad because it reminds him of Brilliant Diamond and Shining
To
Pearl.
flip this goddamn desk.
It's like I was absolutely loving this game until I had to listen to that shit again.
Yeah, I think this game rocks. I think they nailed it as much as you could possibly hope they'd nail it, knowing that Game Freak, like, everyone was kind of trepidatious going into this, and I think everything they tried to do, like, from a mechanics and system standpoint, they kind of nailed.